My introduction to semaglutide was from a member that I didn't see for 6 months. One of the strongest guys in the gym came back, shredded, and he was like, yeah, I took this stuff. A friend of mine out in California told me to try it. It did not take very long to see the momentum of where this was going to go.
Let me start with a truth that's going to bother some people. The problem isn't GLP-1s or even testosterone. The problem is people doing this without not knowing what to do and paying the price. Because here's what's happening. People are polarizing this conversation between GLP-1s and testosterone. Is it the magic pill or is it a moral failure? And while everybody argues, the real issues keep growing. People are using these drugs with little to no education or guidance. No real testing, no oversight, no plan for protein or hydration or even training. And that's typically how you get the bad outcomes, without having all the information. I've personally been through hormone therapy. I know what stress can do to your body. I know what it feels like to be doing the right things, but still feel off. Today, I'm sitting down with Dave Appel, gym owner and medical wellness operator. We're going to break down what's real, what's risky, and what done right actually looks like. Stay to the end, because we'll give you a simple framework to do this the right way. So if you're a gym owner, you'll know how to introduce this responsibly without damaging trust. And if you're just trying to get your health back, you'll know what questions to ask and what red flags to avoid. Let's get into it. All right, Dave. Hey, we had a good conversation the other day. So glad for you to be on the show today. And
very excited.
The whole world of how you can get fit and how you can kind of have some cheat codes to get fit and stay healthy are things that a lot of people have always been trying to advance towards, from skinny margaritas to the magic pill. We're now in a day and age where GLP-1s, HRT, things like that are popping up everywhere, and semaglutides are kind of like a big thing. So are GLP-1s, and it can be a little bit controversial. I was just in a conversation with a group the other day, and I mentioned, hey, I know some people who could actually operate and be your virtual physician place, right? Where customers can come in and they can talk to a physician and get prescription if they needed it. They would go through a standard process like they would with any doctor. And I explained to them, that it might include someone needing hormone replacement therapy. I myself have had hormone replacement therapy, no longer on it, but I needed it. And the reality was, at that time for me, was I was in a position where I was just really down. Like, I needed something, and it wasn't because of poor nutrition or lack of exercise. It was really stress. I didn't realize that then. But I was explaining to this gym that, hey, you can do this, and they go, no, we're not bringing needles and steroids in my gym. So I'd like to have you talk about this a little bit, because when someone hears GLP-1s, HRT, and telehealth in a gym, they either get really excited about it, yep, or they get scared. How do you want them to feel by the time we get done talking today, by the end of this conversation?
If they're on the side of the fence that you mentioned, where it's more of a fear of like, hey, we're not doing that they're at least maybe open to a conversation, that what we talk about today is really kind of opening the door and really getting into the weeds of what it is. I was talking with an executive a few months ago, and she brought it up. I didn't have to. And she goes, there are people already doing it anyways that come in here that we don't know of. We don't know where they're getting it. We don't have a clue. So, the perception of it's not going on in here, or we don't want it in here, I think resonates almost back to the day it is considered like a steroid. That's not what testosterone. I think it's been misrepresented. It's not really been clearly defined how it benefits you. Just speaking from personal experience, I've been on testosterone for quite a while, and I went to my general practitioner, went in, said, hey, I'd like to get my testosterone tested. And they're like, why? He said, well, I'm interested. I kind of want to know what's going on. I feel like this and I don't know why. I eat right. I exercise. I do all the things. So results come back. I'm in the window of 300 to 900. And, it's okay. Well, you fall within the normal. And I was like, man, this range is amazing. Like, I wish I would have went through school and had a range for my A's and B's being like 600 points. So that led nowhere. And I was like, okay, I'm not done with this. I'm going to go figure out what's going on. Somebody has to have more information than this. By the time I finished my journey, I actually went to another place. They did a little bit more in-depth testing, pulled my free T, found out that I have this SHBG, a sex hormone binding globule that actually prevents the usage of my free T. So I was really frustrated when I found that out. And it was like, how long have I been living feeling like this? And it could have been corrected a long time ago. So, I think it's not a one-time done. You can't just go to one place and that's it. For me, it was, I need to know the answer. What's really going on? So when I heard that, it really changed my entire perception of these small brick and mortar places or the telehealth side of it. I think that they have opened and they have grown like wildfire because they are focused on providing quality care and really letting you know what you're getting into and what to be looking for, and to have a resource to be able to come back to and say, hey, something's not right. Or in my case, it was like a month later and I was like, I'm a whole new human being. This cloud had just this fog had removed itself. So, I've always been my own lab rat, where I want to test it on myself and see. So this was I think, what a lot of people would fall into. Go to your general practitioner. Here's where you're at. Okay, I guess I don't need it. And, or they go the other route and they just kind of get it online and who knows where it's coming from. Yeah. And it's the Wild West in a sense, because I think the regulatory body behind it hasn't been clear. So, my stance on this is not that it's for everybody, but it is for some people. And it's really an opportunity for people to get a kickstart that they have maybe tried 100 different ways. My wife and I own a CrossFit in Austin, Texas. So been doing that for 13 years. I've been in this space a really long time, and to cast doubt or shadow on somebody for trying to do something to get into the gym really seems kind of backwards for what we're trying to do in the gym as owners and operators. Like, I thought we opened our doors to provide a space to help people, whatever their journey is.
Exactly. And we talked about this before, is like, I think for a lot of the big box gyms, and nothing against them, I mean, they're doing a really good service by providing a space where people can go for a rate that is, within their budget, or at least for them just to kind of get started so they can kind of get into that space. And as a society, we've kind of lost track of how we really move. And years ago, we were a lot more active because we had to till our lands and we had to sow the soil and, take care of the crops and take care of the animals. And there's a lot more trade going on, like physical trade, where you would be a service provider of something and you'd want to trade something else until, finally we got into this monetary system where we had some kind of physical item, our fiat system, where we actually trade a bill for some good. And we were moving a lot more, even as children. I mean, you look at the physical education test for U.S. public schools today, and they had the president's physical education requirements, at least when you and I were younger. And that kind of went away, and now they're bringing it back. But the reality was we were a lot more active, including, and my mother just sent me something on my phone from a thing on X, that it was showing the representation of the children that were being raised in the 70s. And it was, if you're bored, find something to do or I'll find something for you. And if you ever remember that from your parents,
Definitely.
and we didn't have the technology to keep us totally engaged and enthralled in these things that were keeping our attention. We would go out and we would move. And now today, because society has shifted, we're in a position today where we do now sit a lot more. We don't move as much as we used to. And that's where the 10,000 steps came in, right? They did that study and they said, okay, well, it's like 7 to 10,000 steps. And that's equivalent to about 2 miles. And we don't do 2 miles a day anymore.
Yeah.
So
the average, I think, is around 3,000 steps a day.
It's very, very low.
Yes.
Very, very low. And to your point, you own a CrossFit. I also have owned several gyms and fitness businesses. And the stopping, the gap, I think, is exactly what you're talking about, where people get involved in fitness, but then there's not that sense of service beyond that. Like my parents, if they were to go into a gym, if they were to come to your gym, I know you would take care of them, but not every gym is going to do the same thing, where they're going to go, okay, this is your starting point. Like this is the baseline. And we've got all this data on you and we're going to track all this data. And then we're going to follow up with you and then make sure that there's progression happening. Not every gym does that. Most of the time you're just a number and they take your order, you're the ticket, and they're making money off you. And there's that whole subscription model. Now you guys have gone through this process of recognizing that having a solution to combat or help move things forward, because not everybody has that natural momentum and that desire to go, I'm going to go do this. So you guys offer these solutions, doing the blood sampling, making sure that everything is the way it needs to be, and then offering the proper medication to make sure that they can move forward properly so you can optimize their health. And
and on top of that too, the care that comes along with it. There's a live human being on the other end that's guiding you through your journey.
And I think the challenge that a lot of us face is not having the right information, or just not having any information and just kind of going off of what other people are telling you. To your point, you're having this conversation with an executive the other day, and people are doing these things anyway. And where are they getting the medication from to optimize their health? Is it really optimal, or is it making things worse?
Yes.
And that's where I think a lot of people miss the gap. But you mentioned something about your range, like 300 to 900. And what you were referring to was, I'm assuming, nanometers per deciliter, right? Or nanograms per deciliter. And for the listeners, if you're not familiar with this, if you're unfamiliar with like blood test and lab work, what they're measuring is a lot of times your free testosterone. And a standard range is 200, right? So if you're above 200, any endocrinologist is going to tell you, oh, well, you know what? You're above 200 nanograms per deciliter, so you're probably fine. No big deal, no worries. Yet you still feel like garbage. Like you have a hard time getting out of bed. You just don't have motivation. You have your head is in the clouds. Like you do feel like there's a cloud over you. And I remember getting measured. At one point I was above that 200 and I went and saw a physician, and they put me on some testosterone therapy, and I skyrocketed. I mean, I just got to a point where it was too much for me, because I would notice that I was getting angry and frustrated. And the only reason why I went in was because I was feeling that way. Now I got off of it, but then I went back in and I had my testosterone measured, and it was like 41 nanograms per deciliter. I mean, it was very, very low. Wow. I don't even know how I functioned. But it was I was like super, super high stress. At that time, I was not eating the best. I was still exercising, but it was so hard to exercise. I mean, just like to even get the motivation to go to the gym, that really was a battle for me. And so I understand the 80% of the population who have a hard time actually getting off their damn couch. And a lot of times it's because they are overweight, which impacts their testosterone, which impacts the way they feel. And it's not just for men, it's for women too. And you guys are going through this process to make sure that at the gym level, they can have a service where they meet with someone. But I want to circle back to this because that's all extremely helpful, but it's not necessarily helpful if the physicians get it wrong, or the measurement protocol in order to get these numbers is wrong because the devices are all different, right? You go to one doctor and it's one number, and you go to another doctor and it's another number, and they may not be calibrated all the time because of the regulatory bodies that don't, like you said, don't necessarily do all these things the way that are following a specific practice. And so how does someone determine whether or not it's right for them? Right? I'm the gym owner and I'm that guy who's going, like, I don't take it right now, but that's just because for me, I feel like I've got a pretty good plan in place, right? My nutrition is really clean. My fitness is pretty good. And so my hormone levels are probably where they kind of need to be right now. Take into consideration like that I meditate and I read books and I try and make sure that I manage my day very well. It's a lot of work, but could I have a more optimal system? Absolutely. So how do you make sure that the customers and the gym owners feel comfortable about doing something like this?
It starts with a conversation. I think that right now it's hot. It's a hot topic. Implementation isn't necessarily there. It's people talking about it. It's coming. It's, what are you going to do? What are you waiting for? We're as much consultants in this as we are sales, in a sense of bringing this opportunity to the facilities. And I think the way the CEO of our company, Brock Rush, we've created a company here that is operating exactly to the standards that need to be. Our medical staff that's behind us, the doctors that are behind this company, everything here is tight. We don't farm anything out. Our providers all are a part of this organization. And that's a big part of it for me, is that we are providing what I would consider the care in kind of being an owner operator in the fitness space. I would want to partner with somebody that I know is bringing that same care and quality of care to my membership base. That's kind of where I start. And then, how you offer it and what you offer is really up to the facility. If a place is interested, now we know that if it becomes a supplement that you just kind of are putting on the shelf and it's like, hey, we got here's a QR code, go scan that. And you're going to get some sell through because people are looking. And I think now it's especially like, oh, it's in the gym. It kind of lines up. It makes sense. It makes sense to me that if I saw these things in there, oh, hey, I haven't really thought about that. I go to the gym and I'm just like wiped out. I need to recover for 2 days. What's going on? All of those things kind of put together, it's bridging the gap to the level that I'm comfortable thinking about that. Now, maybe I have more of a boutique style or my fitness spaces are the trainers are really involved with people, or my group training is, or there's a communal aspect to it. The people that have the offerings and they have a lot of group training and personal training, and it's ingrained, I think, into the business that they have. Well, that's even a better fit because now it's a conversation piece. I would never just walk up to somebody and be like, man, it looks like you should be on some Semaglutide here. It's not that, but it is part of, are you on it? Even if you haven't partnered with us, we don't ask those questions. When you sit down and do your consultation, it's just like, what do you want to do? I want to lose some weight. I want to do this. Well, what are you on? What are you taking right now? And if we started to ask those, I think people would be like, whoa, hold on. What do you mean? What am I on? We have to open up the conversation to be able to let people know it's okay. Hey, if you're on these things, I want to know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how do you handle that actually? Like, so, because I'm assuming, I can only assume, because you're at the top of Korb, and you also own and operate your own CrossFit, you're in a position where Korb is an integral part of your CrossFit facility. And I mean, Korb spans, 70 plus locations today, but you are one of those locations. And so what is your onboarding process? A new customer walks in the door. How do you handle that? So you're kind of like coaching, like here we are having this conversation, but the person listening, a gym owner, and the potential patient, they're going to get like real-time feedback from this conversation. Like, how does that process typically work, and what should they expect?
During the onboarding, so we will have for most folks, it's mandatory unless they've been in this, kind of in the system and they understand what they're getting into. But they come in, sit down, and we kind of walk and talk them through the ethos of our company and what we do and why we do it the way that we do it. And then that Q&A, hey, what are you doing? What's your current exercise regimen look like? Okay. As you start to fine tune it, but then it's a soft just introduction. Oh, hey, by the way, we have partnered with this company because we believe that some people are looking for other, I wouldn't really call it an assist, or maybe they really need it. And like you'd said, for your own personal use, it's like, I just don't want to do anything. It's putting this in front of them, and then it opens up for dialogue. Hey, we've partnered with Korb. They're a medical wellness company. Well, oh, that's interesting. From their perspective, well, why do you guys do that? Well, because we wanted to make sure we see this coming as part of this blend or merge of kind of fitness and healthcare. And we wanted to make sure that we offered it, and that we offered it from a place that we were drawn to because of how they operate. We know that they have quality care with licensed providers. We know that the medications that they're going to be sending you are coming from vetted pharmacies. So there's no gaps there. And then, the conversation kind of keeps going to, oh yeah, I've heard about that. I've thought about taking it, but I wasn't really sure. I had a friend that took it and they got it from this place online. So it really just opens up dialogue we don't really point them and say, hey, go. But if you are interested, we want to let you know up front that we are doing this. So if you have questions, you can come back to us and we can talk to you more. But we don't get into the weeds on it of, well, let's talk about, how much weight you're going to lose each week and all this other stuff. It's more of, again, having the open dialogue, to not being afraid to have the conversation, I think. And that's a big part of it. It's a big part of it for the fitness facilities of like, how do we talk about it? It's just like any other supplement. It just comes from a little bit different. You'll recommend protein, you'll tell them why, or creatine, and you'll tell them why. It's kind of the same conversation. Oh, these medications can help you're looking to get started on a weight loss journey. Fantastic. Maybe this is how you're going to go about getting started. If you do, and you really feel comfortable, come back and talk to us. Because I also want to let you know that, hey, when you're on this, you need to also be prepared. Are you eating enough? Are you making sure that you're hydrated? Mm-hmm. We don't want you to fall out on class because you haven't eaten for 8 hours and then you decided to come and exercise. And then having a resource where, if they really want to have a more in-depth conversation, it's like, okay, here, go schedule your 30-minute in-call with Korb and talk to a licensed provider that is educated on all of these products and has worked with thousands of patients. And they can really tell you more about what you're going to experience, how it's going to feel, what to be looking for. And that's a very easy handoff because they're professionals. It's not like call this place and hopefully somebody answers the phone and who knows what they're going to tell you. Like, I mean, from my perspective, I live at both sides, from the fitness side and the company side, but I think that's a big part that's missing. Oh, just go get them from whoever. That's not the case in for this particular instance. Most of the people I would say that have gotten on these medications, if they didn't have somebody that was really guiding them, and you think about it, just like anything, people come into the gym and they're like, man, I've been a gym member for 8 years, but I've never seen any change because I don't know what I'm doing. And it's kind of the same thing here. Oh, I got on that medication and I was sick, but I got it through my primary care, and it was hard to get back in to talk to them, or I got it on this service and it was more kind of text messages and I didn't really have anybody to go to. It's having information, having the right people there to help to guide you. A lot of the negative feedback that was coming out on this stuff a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was just a lot of people getting on it and having zero guidance. I've met so many people. I met this woman that started essentially a collective for GLP-1, where she's like, she tries to find money, then she can help people to pay, and then also lines them up to get them with real service. And, I actually talked with her a few weeks ago, and she's kind of walking me through her journey of like, I had to figure it out on my own. And this isn't something you want to figure out on your own. Just like fitness isn't something for the ones that have lived it their entire life. And I feel like I'm kind of spinning around here, but to me, the gyms were an evolution of athletics. The athletes that didn't go on to play in college and didn't extend their career past college, they still wanted to go to the gym. What's going to happen, because sports now are getting less and less kids that are involved and interested? What happens when, like you had mentioned at the very beginning of this, activity levels in children are down? So if they are not feeling that sense of joy that we get from the pain of the exercise or the movement, it's terrifying. It's scary. None of the words that we would use to describe a workout are anything that's going to draw them in. So I would just kind of say, in the bigger picture of this, it all starts at the bottom. I was a PE teacher, and that's kind of, as I got out of school, I went in and started to work with kids, which I'd always enjoyed and loved. And that back then, this was in the early 2000s, data was already coming out that was saying if kids aren't active regularly by the time they've left second grade, the chances of them continuing with activity is 10%. Like, they're just not going to do it because there's nothing there to kind of pull them into it. So we're fighting against a lot of different odds of, we want to increase memberships, but we're losing people that have even participated in any activity as far as fitness goes. And with these medications coming out and how they hit, my introduction to Semaglutide was from a member that I didn't see for 6 months. He was already one of the strongest guys in the gym, came back, shredded, and he was like, I took this stuff. A friend of mine out in California told me to try it. I found a doctor, and I was like, whoa. I had started to see it coming around a little bit more. And then that started my journey into finding out like what, and it did not take very long to see the momentum of where this was going to go. We're all looking for an assist in everything that we do. At work, we use ChatGPT to help us. Like, nobody's getting chastised because they use ChatGPT. Now it's almost like, why aren't you using ChatGPT? Why aren't you using the thing to help to get it done a little bit faster? Then you go make your edits. It's, for some reason, the stigma of any kind of a cheat in health or wellness just seems to be this very negative thing that I kind of tie it to as, from my own life, is that I grew up in it and it was just normal of being around fitness and all this, but most people don't. So it's very difficult to tie them back into, hey, just come on in. It's going to be fun. Like nothing about what we're trying to introduce them to, I think in the mentality of the person that's never been in, is fun. It's we're not there yet.
You mentioned something, and I'm just writing down my notes here on supplements that I used to take. And I remember that you talk about kind of like it's cheating, and there's this stigma that people might place on other people by, being on GLP-1s or semaglutide or even hormone replacement therapy. And I look back to my first days of like really getting involved in fitness. And even to this day, if I'm having a garbage day, or I just didn't get my workout in, I know the outcome of exercise for me. I know that if I go for a run or a jog, it's going to reduce my cortisol levels. It's going to increase my dopamine, my serotonin. I know that there's going to be a chemical release. Adrenaline's going to, kick in. So I know that all of those things, physiologically and psychologically, I'm going to feel better after I exercise. And I've always been a big believer and pusher of people going to exercise, even if they have a psychological problem, like they're dealing with mental health issues. Like maybe some of those things can be fixed just by exercising, and there's plenty of research now today that shows that. But I had my own cheat, right? I had a concoction that I would mix up, and this is back in the 90s. There was a product called Ultimate Orange. They don't sell it anymore, but I would go get Ultimate Orange, and it was something that they sold at GNC, and there were very few other nutrition stores at the time that would, unless they were like independent. But I would go to GNC, get Ultimate Orange. I get vanadil sulfate, get chromium picolinate. I would get creatine monohydrate, and now it's like creatine's like huge now.
Yep.
I'm not going to be surprised if vanadil sulfate and chromium picolinate become big here in the next 10 years. But I would put together my concoction along with my amino acids and everything else that I took. And those things probably helped a little bit, but there were also things that I would take that probably were totally placebo. And the fact that it was something that was created, because you and I know that the supplement industry is not regular whatsoever.
Right.
So I would take these things, and just because I took it, it was enough motivation for me to actually make it into the gym. And so to your point about cheating, I personally don't think it's a cheat. I think you've mentioned this before. You see it as kind of like the gateway. And I do too. I agree with the fact that someone taking, because you got to think, someone being in a position where they're sitting on the couch, their life sucks, right? They feel stuck.
Yep.
And they feel overweight, or they feel unhappy, or they don't have that motivation. I've been there because I was at like 40 whatever nanograms per deciliter. Like I had zero testosterone. I had like zero motivation to do anything. So I know what that feeling is like. Maybe I would have never been extremely overweight or obese, but I have felt that amount of stress or pressure where I just don't feel like doing anything. And that's the same feeling that 80% of the people get. So if we can get them on even a placebo, okay, and if the GLP-1 we know is not a placebo, and they can go ahead and get started on that, they can start seeing progress. Naturally, other things happen, which I would imagine from the research is that serotonin increases, dopamine increases, norepinephrine increases. Like all of these things start increasing. Cortisol starts dropping, and you as a person, the chemical response is a psychological one that then helps feed the physiological one where you want to go exercise and see more results. So you just start feeding the engine. And I think
exactly
the GLP-1s, the semaglutides, those are the fuel for the fire, or sometimes they're just the flint and stone to get the fire started.
Yep.
And then you can just pour fuel on it and keep that motor going. Because even for me, if I exercise, I can tell you, and now the research proves it. This was before the research was there, but I was always like, I exercise today, like I'm eating clean, right? I'm going to eat clean. And the reality was that was a physiological and psychological response to the thing that I just did. And so I look at that, and I look at what your group and many other groups are starting to do. where GLP-1s, I really do believe they are a gateway to help achievement and improvement, and you don't have to be on it forever. So let's talk about GLP-1s and semaglutides, the myths versus kind of like the reality. The big one is, in plain language, right? What do these drugs actually do in the body beyond just preventing people from being hungry?
I think a lot of our patients come through, and before the weight loss results for some of them even kick in, they will start to tell our providers that I'm pain-free, that they are very powerful anti-inflammatories, which you think in an overweight or obese person, inflammation is paramount. They're dealing with it 24/7. Their diet is probably stoking that fire more than anything. So when they start to get in, that becomes really one of the first things that just allows a lot of them to go, wow, my body doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Like that pain that was always there is starting to decrease. So that is another one of those triggers. Hey, I'm pain free. I can go for a walk. I can start to move my body. And then as they start to get going, so the food does sit in the digestive tract longer, which does create more satiety. They're not having to take in as much food, but they're not even clear right now. There's no study that's even been released on why in the mental side of it, that the food noise goes away. So at our gym, we'd let people know, and then it's kind of softly put, there's some flyers here and there. You can go ahead and scan it. Everybody that's pretty much signed up at my facility, if I'm around, they come up and tell me. And not one of them has told me they took it for the weight loss being the only reason. One of them told me she'll never stop because of the food noise. It was the number one thing she's dealt with for so long. Just knowing that in the freezer, there was that pint of ice cream. And I think this is where I started to peel back the onion. I was like, whoa, you start to hear these things that you don't even think of. You just think, they just aren't taking care of themselves. There's so much more going on than that. I had multiple people walk up to me and they're like, I heard that if you get on these at low dose, that smoking and alcohol cravings start to decrease.
Really?
And that was for one of them was like, hey, I drink a bottle of wine a night. I don't want to do that anymore. If there's something that can change that and help me on that, I'm going to try it. I want to try it. And those don't get talked about as much because of the, it's more, again, I feel like it's all clickbait. We just want to find the negative and get that out there, that you're going to look like you're the Walking Dead. Your skin's going to fall into your face. You're going to lose your butt. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, those things can all happen, but if you're doing the other things along with it, that's why we call it the trifecta. The medicine is amazing, but unless you change the way that you're eating and move your body, you're going to end up actually worse than when you started. Because now, yes, you did lose a bunch of body fat, but you've also lost some muscle as well. And we all know, being in the space, muscle is very difficult to put on. It takes time. Takes energy. So if you lose what little you had and you haven't made any behavioral change, again, you're going to be in a worse spot than when you started. Now you're lost weight, but your structure is weaker than when it started.
If you've made it this far into the episode, thank you. I don't take your time or your attention lightly. So if anything that I've shared today has sparked an idea, challenged you in any way, maybe challenged your perspective on things, or just helps you see your business a little differently, I'd love for you to do two quick things. First, head over to YouTube, search Sweat Success Podcast, and hit that subscribe button. Next, please go to bizops.com. I've put together a handful of free resources there that you can download to help you grow your business, improve your systems, and create real freedom. They're all available right now. There's no strings attached. I just appreciate you being here. Let's get back to the show. Have you seen that?
Oh, good.
Have you seen your customers who get on semaglutide or GLP-1? Have you seen them stay longer? Have you seen like an increase in their membership term length, or have you seen them more active, right? I think the average customer exercises like 15 times in a month. So, or maybe it's less than that. I think it might be 10. Have you seen increase in their activity levels and or increase of their length of stay as a consumer?
So since we are telehealth, I host our webinars, so I'm only getting in front of 30, 40 people, let's say every other week. And the stories that get kind of trickle down from when we have our meetings and stuff that providers are sharing, it has a tendency to be the extreme ones where, it's like, oh, they had fatty liver disease when they started. They've been on it for 6 months and now they don't. They've been wanting to have be able to get pregnant for years. They couldn't, PCOS, and then boom, now they've had children. And we do get people that start to ask, and that's been, again, part of what I'm doing here is helping to provide some kind of structure to that. So we provide them with very simple activity plans to just be like, if you've never done anything, here's a variety of things that you could do. Just start here.
Sorry, I meant from your CrossFit location, right? So those who are getting, those who are getting on GLP-1 or semaglutides at your CrossFit location who are currently members, have you seen an increase? Like if you took, let's just say Betty, I don't know if Betty's on it, but let's say Betty was not taking GLP-1s, and then now, and she was a member and maybe was not that active previously. Does she now come more frequently because she's on it? And then the second question is, do you also have members who, have you seen an increase in member length stay? So average person stays 18 months. Now your average person stays, their lifetime value is now 24 months or 36 months.
Speaking from the CrossFit space, I think we're a unique beast is that people show up because there's another aspect to it. They have it's a community. They have some friends that'll hold them accountable if they don't show up. What I have noticed in the people that I do know that is on it, it's the intensity that they're able to bring to the workouts that wasn't there before. You lose 5 pounds. That's a lot when you are doing body weight movements, or, it just allows them to kind of throw themselves into the workouts in a deeper level than they did before. And whether that's because of the weight alone, but mainly I think it's more psychological that they're just like, I feel good. I really feel the difference in this. I think the soreness, again, we're decreasing in the United States. The food that we eat, is just really pumps the inflammation with what we take in on a daily basis. So now I have something that's helping to keep that level low. It definitely, I think, ignites a fire that may have already been there because they've been showing up. But now it's like, oh, let's turn it up a little bit more. When they were telling me to go to get breathless, I'm not as afraid to go there. Let's go get breathless. Like, what does it take? So definitely on that. Retention is, I would say, again, it's a little bit different from our perspective, is that the demographic that comes in that probably are using this, they're probably already going to stay with us for a very long time. This is where it excited me, because I was like, I just get to offer them. They trust us. So I'm going to put something in front of them that they know that we have vetted and that we trust. And if they want to use it, they're going to go and move forward with it in a way that they're like way more comfortable than searching it out themselves. From a corporate perspective, though, from the company, we, like I was mentioning, we get the random person that's like, hey, I've lost 60 pounds. Like, what do I do next? They start to get excited and they're asking our providers, like, where do I go? What do you recommend? That's exciting stuff. And to be able to just give them something a little bit, or the carrot to kind of continues to lead them, like, hey, if you're not ready to go to the gym, here's some stuff you could do at home, and explaining it to them and giving that to them in a way that's digestible. That, again, continues to be the conduit to keep them going. As far as retention goes in our space, I mean, I think you could look at it negative and positive. Our people stay in the program here longer. Good for us, good for them. However you're kind of looking at this, you could judge it. Oh yeah, of course they want people to stay on it longer. I don't say it from that position. Our patients stay with us longer because we will not just drive the medicine, the amount of medicine up every time. We're going to hold you kind of accountable to making some behavioral changes as well. And if you're not really following those, we're not just going to ramp it up and be like, oh, we'll force it until you start losing weight, even though you're not eating. You're just trying to, that's a cheat to me. That's a totally different mentality of how these medications can be used or how they should be used. Guidance.
The way I look at it is this. If my doctor said, Michael, you need to eat food and have, a balanced meal, but he didn't give me an indicator on total amount of calories, right? He just said, eat food, eat a balanced, nutritious meal. So on my plate, I have the greens and I got the, fruits and I've got the meats properly portioned, but now I'm eating like 20 of those a day and not doing any activity. I will, without a doubt, get unhealthy. I will gain weight. I will get unhealthy. Yep. And I will probably end up with fatty liver disease. So I look at GLP-1s very similarly, and the way that doctors prescribe them is that you have some practitioners that make their primary focus monetary and not necessarily the client facing. They're not necessarily looking at the best result for the client or the patient. And with that, you mentioned like I brought up some of the side effects, and you mentioned some of the side effects. And I think the other day we were talking about hair loss, right? So loose skin, hair loss, body image, things like that can happen. Gallbladder issues, pancreatitis, kidney stress, things that are a little bit silent that people don't necessarily know about. There's some studies out there that show that there can be increase in depression and anxiety. But I think all of those things happen when not paired or done correctly. And maybe if somebody is already because that study specifically about the depression and anxiety, I think can just be increased, right? It can showcase itself a little bit more because maybe a person has like body image issues. So when you look at the big picture, it's no different than just not following the guidance from your practitioner, right? Like I will take extra of this medication and I will go overboard, and then I'm not going to eat my food. I'm not going to get enough protein. I'm not going to drink water. I'm not going to exercise. I'm just going to take this stuff and lose weight as fast as possible. Of course, I'm going to lose, have extremely loose skin. Of course, I'm probably going to have hair loss because I'm going above and beyond what my body is capable of handling. Mm-hmm. So what is it that you're actually seeing? Because you kind of see both sides, right? Because you are actually in it. You're in the thick of it. Have you seen somebody, because I'm just drawing on me having some hypothesis about this and reading this information, and drawing a relatively educated conclusion on it. What is it that you see is actually happening
in our particular fitness space? People that I know that are taking the medication, because of what I mentioned earlier, I know that they're not getting pushed into overload of it. They start to lose weight, but it's not that weight where you're like, oh, I haven't seen you in a month and you don't even look like the same human being. I can tell they're healthily, they're following all of the steps that need to be taken. Again, referring back to the person that told me about the food noise, it's like, oh, I'm going to eat what I need to eat. I'm going to provide the proper nutrition because I'm not the chatter going on of, oh, I need that snack, I need that sweet. It's gone. So now I'm just going to fuel the when I do my webinars, I talk about a car or the Ferrari, like the human body's like a Ferrari. If you put the cheapest fuel in it. The Ferrari's it's going to run, but it's going to run poorly. The human body is exactly the same.
Put some diesel fuel in it, see what happens.
It'll operate. And then I think the resiliency of the human body is mind blowing, that it'll just keep on keeping on no matter how abusive you are to it. But if you treat it and feed it, the changes, then again, it starts to continue to reinforce. Like, I've never felt like this. Wow. My skin has never looked like this. I've never had this thick of hair. And it's like, that's what food does. Food, I think, unfortunately, it's a novelty. It's an experiential thing. We go and we sit to eat with a group of people and we indulge, and that's fine in context. If you're able to hold the reins on that, but most people aren't. And it's unfair, I believe. I don't hold anybody accountable to making poor decisions if they don't know any better, because they're fighting against multi-billion-dollar companies that have the most amazing marketers on the planet, and they make it. They design these are designed, fabricated foods to make you want to eat more of them. When you start to not crave those, there's so many. Again, a year and a half ago, there were lots of companies coming out. Oh, we've got to make a change. People aren't buying these things anymore. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The biggest company in that space to pivot was Walmart, which I thought was amazing. They saw that there was a decrease in kind of the junk foods, and they were a very smart company, put two and two together, and they're like, oh, we know what GLP-1s are doing, so let's pivot and let's now offer healthy, higher protein snacks for these people. And boom, they have the money, it's back up. They haven't lost customers. Now they just brought them back in and said, hey, no, we know that there's a need for this. Come in and choose from our selection of them.
What do you want, the trainers and the gym owners that are listening to this conversation? What's the one action item that you want them to do over the next 7 days as a result of this conversation?
The first thing that comes to mind is to really kind of sit down and bring it back to what are you doing and why are you doing it? Are you doing this? If anybody's really in fitness, they know that it's not necessarily the most profitable world to be in. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it ends up, you're doing it for the people, and you want them to have this life-changing thing that somehow drew you into it. And to look at it like that. What if I had an open book and I just let people know that it's okay to be on whatever, I don't want to say whatever you're on, but some of these medications that will help to enhance your life, to make you feel better. I mean, isn't that what it's really all about? To be here and to kind of feel like you're productive and you have the energy and the ability to move. And then, hey, maybe I don't have a class that's designated for these folks, but if I started to let people know that it's okay to come in here, and I'm not going to tell you you're doing it right or wrong. I will if the way you're moving. If you don't know how to deadlift, I'm going to correct that. But do I want to draw more people in that I could change to make a life change that is, I feel, so far more superior to the external population? If I have somebody come in that's never been into the gym, that they've lost 70, 80 pounds, they maybe, if they're on the GLP-1, but they're working out with our trainers, they're coming in, they're going to tell everybody. Everybody's going to stop and ask them, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I work out with Michael over at, Gym ABC. That kind of marketing is by far the most powerful and impactful anyways. To me, like, just kind of remove the blinders of a little bit of the silo that we get stuck in as operators about what our business is, and go, man, what if I increased 5% of my membership base that were people that had never been in here? And I I know I have the experience and I have the facility for them to come into, that'll change. That would change not only the bottom line, but it's going to change. That 5% could, over the next year, 18 months, go to 10 to 15% because it's a different demographic. They're looking now. They're trying to find it, but there isn't a place there.
One of my first businesses that I started was called Fitness Management Group, and we operated. It was like the geek squad of fitness. We were in a lot of clubs, and we had a lot of trainers and a lot of gym owners that we worked with, and that business itself, when I go back and look at it, the one thing that was consistent was because we were providing personal training, memberships were increased because the clients actually, the members stayed longer, and those members were also training clients. But also there were more members that joined the gym because you had natural referees, right? You had the training clients who were seeing results going in and saying, to your point, hey, I train with Michael at XYZ gym or ABC gym. And they would naturally bring in more customers. I think with GLP-1s, semaglutide, like a telehealth service and system in other gyms, for those who are considering it, I think Corb Health might be an option. Obviously, do your research, but if they were to go with you guys, I would naturally assume, because we didn't talk about this, and now's a good time to ask, not only is it going to increase their membership base, like we know that because results are there and referrals come in, but will they also potentially receive benefit on something from Corb? Does Corb give any kind of referral-based incentive or license incentive, or how does that work?
Definitely. So we sign kind of marketing agreements with our groups that we partner with, and then there's a rev share based on the life of that person. And the way that we also do it too, it's, this usually isn't just a one person thing. So we've opened it up to family and friends as well, to where it, again, the cascade, the net that is thrown is bigger than what it starts out at. It's bigger than just the facility itself. So there is a increased revenue opportunity for some more than others. I think, again, the more that the way that the exterior of the facility looks, and by that I mean the community, how people that live in that area talk and communicate about that place, that's really the thing that will allow them to feel like this might be the place for me. I mean, we're kind of light years away from anybody starting a class specifically. I have some colleagues that I've been working with the past couple of years that, they're aquatics. If you have a pool, for most facilities that have pools, the pool sucks out more money than it ever brings in. And it's like, these are the perfect places to have these programs for these people. Hey, come on in here, jump in the pool. You're going to be with 5 other people. And, it's not like we're going to just sit and talk about GLP-1s or your weight loss journey. It's like, come in here because I know the benefit of putting you in this particular space. Your joints aren't going to hurt. You don't have to worry about anybody looking at you. You wear pants and a long sleeve shirt if you wanted. It's really kind of, again, pulling the blinders back and opening things wide up to see the gaps. Where's there a potential gap? Somebody's going to do it. I think over the next few years, somebody's going to open up that place that's going to resonate, and then everybody's going to try to scramble to replicate. And I think we talked about this yesterday. Fear ends up being the thing. Oh, my secret sauce is the sauce. I don't want anybody to take it away. And I never had heard it how you told me last night was like, if I give you, you're going to read the recipe different. No matter what that secret sauce is, it's going to end up being you and your facility, and your personality is going to come out behind that. And I think that's such an amazing way to look at it. Like, people are going to pick and choose where they feel comfortable, and everybody feels comfortable in different scenarios.
20 years from now, when your kids and your grandkids grow up, what do you want them to kind of look back on, and what do you want to be remembered by doing the things you're doing now and working with Korb Health? How do you want them to see you? I know that's a pretty deep question.
Yeah, it is.
I hit you hard on that one.
Somebody that was always doing something that affected so many other people. I'm not just doing these jobs to make money. I've chosen a path where I get to affect the life of others, whether that's through our gym and creating a community of people that people get to come in and feel welcome, or if it's with this company where we get to help people change their lives. Not everybody's going to make the decision, but that a majority of them are going to. And, it'd be amazing to 20 years, 30 years from now for my kids and just people to look back and go, man, he was always looking into the future, but the future was because he saw a benefit for us, and really wanted to help us. Just like you'd mentioned yesterday, hey, I had hyperbaric chamber before anybody even considered it. And I was telling my wife, I was like, he sold hyperbaric chamber visits for $20. You can't even walk into a place that has a hyperbaric chamber for $20 anymore. I bet there are people that probably are going, man, if I only would have done that, I wish I would have listened. So,
I have immense respect for your vision for yourself, man, and for what you want your kids and grandkids to see. And I think that's the reality. I mean, what you're doing now with Corb Health, what you're doing with your CrossFit facility, the way that you're leading other people toward a healthier life, and really helping them envision a better life for themselves and optimize the way that they live. I think you're embodying all of that. Total respect. I mean, I think when it comes to a lot of people in our industry, I've always said that we're just natural nurturers. I mean, I remember as a kid, the very first thing that I got in trouble for was chasing down a mouse that was running underneath this big carpet in this gym. My mom had a hair salon in this old high school. And I went and picked up the mouse and kissed it. And of course, my brother went and told on me. But it's just that natural nurturing, right, that you have. And I've got total respect for that. I'm not in the gym space as much as I used to be. I'm sure at some point I'm probably going to get back to that. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on the show today, man. And anybody that's listening that wants to get involved in Corb Health and how you can get involved, all of that information is going to be in the show notes. So you'll be able to see it there. And Dave, is there a specific place that you want people to go in order to get more information on how they can get involved with Corb?
At this time, the best way is to shoot me an email. You can go to our website, call the main line, and, reach out if you want to have a conversation. And that's where it all starts. Let's just kind of sit down and talk and see if everything kind of lines up for where we're headed with both of these industries. Awesome.
Dave, appreciate having you on, man, and talking about Corb and what you guys are doing. And anyone else that's listening, if this resonated with you, or if some of this information was something you feel other people can get value out of, please share. It keeps the show going, keeps this thing alive, and allows me to bring on guests like Dave, so that way we can talk about things about our industry and about the future well-being of everyone else. Thanks again. I'll see you guys on the flip side.